All right, folks. It is definitely Tuesday, the 20th of what month are we in? February here, and all along those lines. So, a number of things are going on in the world, and we're going to find out how they're going and what's happening. The U.S. has prepared a UN resolution supporting a temporary ceasefire with conditions. So, that is something that is going on, and definitely we'll see what happens in that. The U.S. is expected to veto the UN security resolution on the Israel ceasefire. So definitely that is taking place in the world and everything in that way. So we do know that. As I was telling one of our founders and everything, it looks like two of the dictators of the world have exchanged gifts with each other. So apparently Putin has gifted North Korea's Kim Jong-un with a Russian-made limo. So apparently folks are saying that this is a sign of a special personal relationship, and that is what North Korean state media is reporting. So definitely he got this luxury car, Mr. Kim Jong Un did, and everything. And Putin has unleashed a barrage of drones on 7 key cities across the UN, and that is something else that we're seeing in the news. And 2 hospitals in southern Gaza are left barely functioning. So, definitely that is something going on, including that there was a high risk mission to rescue 32 patients and everything. And doctors were forced to strip in the cold at Gaza's Nasser hospital, according to witnesses. And IDF announced the arrest of Hamas militants there. So, definitely that is something else that is going on as both of these conflicts are continuing to rage on and everything in that way. So, definitely looks like a Lockbit cybercrime gang has faced a global takedown with indictments and arrests. So definitely the Lockbit ransomware group has been disrupted by the FBI, the NCA, and Europol operations, according to the Washington Post. So definitely it looks like those hackers are being brought down. And there is Taiwan protest after China boards a tourist boat near Kinmen Island, and U.S. warns of possible miscalculations as China wraps up pressure on Taiwan. And definitely that is something going on. And of course, people have been wondering whether that will be another hot zone in the world. So definitely that is the possibility. And Alexa Navalny's wife is vowing to fight Putin, and definitely that is something that is going on. And Alexei Navalny's mother is demanding that Putin hands over son's body so that I can bury him humanely. So that is something else that is going on. And definitely the wife, Yulia Navalny, is raising hopes for a renewed Russian opposition. She will definitely be facing huge challenges in that area. And a Russian defector who fled with an army helicopter was found shot dead in Spain. So definitely that is something else that is going on in that conflict. And definitely there is more that will be continuing in the war there and all in that way. And crews are forced to abandon a UK ship in a devastating Houthi missile attack. So that is something else that is taking place. And we're definitely hearing a number of things going on in that way. And definitely, there are folks that are upset at Biden, and some folks, including Michael Allen, that are saying that he is shooting Israel in the back by pushing for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. And Israel vows a Rafah ground assault by Ramadan if hostages are not freed. So definitely that is something else that is going on. And China's homegrown passenger jet is making its international debut. So definitely that is something that is going on as the China's C919 spreads its wings in Singapore. And definitely we'll see how that goes. And the international bow lands for the order. So definitely that is something else that is going on in the world. And surgeries are canceled as South Korean doctors walk out to protest government policies. So South Korean doctors have walked out to protest medical training push causing surgery cancellations in that part of the world. So definitely a lot of things are going on. And Hungary's governing party says it's ready to approve Sweden's NATO ascension. So definitely that is something that we are seeing, as definitely there are more folks that are looking for Sweden to be joining, and all in that way. And the Polish farmers anger Ukraine with border blockade and grain spillage. So definitely that is something else that is going on in that part of Europe. So definitely it looks like that is going on in that way. And Israel economy is definitely having some impact from the war in their part of the world, because Israel's GDP contracts are nearly 20% in the fourth quarter amid Gaza war. So definitely Gaza war hits growth, and Israeli GDP is contracted by 19.4% in the last quarter of 2023. And Japan vows support to Ukraine while hosting a conference focused on the war-torn country's reconstruction. So definitely at the conference on reconstruction, Kishida assured that Japan continues to help rebuild Ukraine. So that is something else that we are seeing in that part of the world. So definitely a lot of conflicts that are continuing to go on. And I know that Sasha will be talking about the Ukraine, Russia, and China involvement very much later on in the morning and everything. So we'll be hearing that as well. And a suspect was arrested in the University of Colorado shooting that killed two when we come back here to this area. And it looks like that in that particular shooting, the shooter was a roommate of one of the victims. So that is something that is going on when we think about gun violence and all in that space. And a body camera captured a dramatic rescue of an event by a deputy at a scene of a car crash in Florida. So sometimes these cameras can actually show things that are positive as well. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news. And Biden draws in 42 million in January amid a fresh round of Democratic hand wringing. So it definitely looks like he is still getting his war chest together, and it looks like he holds a cash edge on Trump in campaign fundraising. So that's something else that we are seeing. And Ruby Frank is to be sentenced in that child abuse case. And Ruby Frank's husband wants a vlogger to face maximum prison time for her horrific and inhumane child abuse. So that is something else that we are seeing as well. So definitely we'll see how this all goes out and what happens in that space. And the first federal gender-based hate crime starts just down south of me and Nick and others of us that are here in North Carolina, in South Carolina, over a trans woman's killing. So that is something else that we are seeing, is that there will be things going on in that space. And it looks like rain is continuing on Tuesday for the already drenched Southern California. So they are continuing to get heavy rain in all in that way. So looks like Donald Trump has trounced Nikki Haley in an exclusive South Carolina poll. So definitely we'll see what is going on there, as Haley is seeing support from moderates in South Carolina, according to the poll. So definitely that is something that is going on in that area, and we'll find out when those actual elections are held. I believe that's next week that they're actually held in that space. But the polls are not looking good for Nikki Haley at this particular moment. And in the Burnsville shooting case in Minnesota, the shooting suspect was identified, and their criminal history includes loss of gun possession rights. So that is something else that is going on in the news and all in that way. So definitely a lot of news things are happening in that regards. And the Alabama Supreme Court has ruled that frozen embryos are children, imperiling IVF and everything in that way. So the Alabama Supreme Court has ruled that frozen embryos are children under state law. So that is something that is going on in Alabama. And DA Fonnie Willis testified she paid cash during trips with a top prosecutor, and one winery host remembers her paying in paper bills. So no ruling on the bid to disqualify the Georgia prosecutors after another day of unusual testimony and all along those lines. So people are definitely following that case and all in that way. So there is for folks that have been following that Texas girl that has been missing, there is a person of interest named in that case. And now we're learning about Audrey L. Cunningham, the missing Texas girl, and a man that is being questioned in that particular case. So definitely we're going to be having a lot of conversations these days about human trafficking, and of course a lot of victims in that way. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that kind of part of the world. And judges are investigating the 2021 assassination of Haiti's president, and it looks like they have indicted his widow. So definitely, Martine Moise, wife of Haiti's murdered president, is charged over his killing, and all in that way. So definitely, a lot of people are still talking about the Trump fraud case, including a very famous person, and all along those lines. So maybe later on I'll play the video, but I'll tell you what was said, and then hear what folks have to say, including maybe even Sasha Starr, who I'll be bringing up very shortly. And I know that Nick Falveda is with me here as well. But and I know that Sasha is more into the S&P. As a matter of fact, on his show Modern Investment, there's a guy that is very much into the S&P and does a lot of his investment by tracking that particular part of the area. And I guess real estate is a very much an important part of the S&P. And O'Leary Ventures chief and Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful has argued that one of the things that is going on in this particular case is that it is damaging the New York situation, and New York as an investment area, and all in that kind of space. So definitely, O'Leary, who was on Fox recently, was saying that it's an assault on the real estate business. And he was saying that New York was already a loser state, like California is a loser state. But he's saying that after this particular indictment, he's putting New York in the worse loser state, because you're saying there are many loser states because of policy, high taxes on competitive regulation, and he would never invest in New York now. And he's not the only person that feels that way, because he was feeling that it was an arbitrary amount. He did suggest that there were some winner states, and definitely, I know that Nick might be glad to hear this, but O'Leary suggested developers and investors ignore the trend of incorporating on the coast, except for Florida, and instead consider moves to incorporate in North Dakota, West Virginia, Texas, or Oklahoma. So I guess he's thinking that those are winner states in terms of real estate investment. So definitely, I'd love to hear what Sasha got to say about that. And I know that he's in out of Canada. I think he's on another part of the world, but he's coming to us today. So we're going to see what Sasha's got going on, and all along those lines. But I was just fascinated by that, because I did see that video and I did hear it, and I don't know as much. I learned a lot about real estate through you, Sasha, and everything. But definitely, I know that Milan is big on the S&P, and I guess real estate is the final sector of the S&P. And I know that O'Leary, who many people know as Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, was arguing that this ruling will hurt investors of wanting to do investments in New York, because of the amount of the investment, and that they might not want to invest there. So he was urging people to go to Steve Brown's state of West Virginia, Nick's state of Florida, and a couple of other states that I mentioned and everything. But I just wanted your take on this as one that is in the investment space, because you're in the investment space.
Thank you, Mark. It's a situation where someone is already hurt by this decision, namely Donald Trump. He's about $450 million on this lawsuit, and another about 100 million, give or take, in Educarroll. Okay, 550. We'll see. You know, the interesting thing is that in order not to lose all these judgments outright and actually pay the money, he must put cash or bonds or something in the court, and there are only 30 days to do it, apparently already less than 30. So he must hurry up. Once he'll put all this money, then he can appeal. It doesn't say anything that his appeal has chances to succeed. Now, about Mr. Wonderful. Okay, so he's going to invest in real estate in any other state but New York. Okay, good luck with that. He's right, absolutely. The problematic thing to me is that such well-known personalities like Mr. Wonderful, they have to suck to Donald Trump in order to please their influential friends who are all sucking to Trump as well. So they're all sucking to Trump and each other. And I don't know if they're going to do what they say they will do, but obviously they're saying all the right things to please all this Trump and Trumpers and little Trumpers, whoever they are. But you know what? It's all coming to the end this year. I'm not sure that Trump will even survive to the actual election. He could be derailed anytime prior to real election. In this case, you understand why Nikki Haley is clinging there, just because he may become a Republican Party nominee just by default. There will be no one else standing but her. And this she will become. And by the way, in this case, she has a good chance to win against incumbent Joseph Biden. So that's interesting development. The Republican Party had a choice whether to put Donald Trump, who will lose absolutely to Joe Biden, or to put Nikki Haley, who will win against Joe Biden. But they have to suck to Trump as much as to still put him as a nominee. Hell, if you lose, so fine. That's the end of Trumpism. They will lose everything: the presidency, House, Senate, governorships, everything what there is, they will lose. Or in case he win, somehow, I don't know how, but let's see, in case, they will be, oh, see how bright we are. We were always supporting Trump. We love Trump and so on. This is a comedy. They have puppets like Mike Johnson who are sucking up to Trump, and most of these coverts in the Republican Party, they're all sucking up to Trump. But wait until the election day. And election day, everything will put the end to this stupidity, which is the absolutely cosmic proportions. But that's life where Americans, a lot of Americans choose. That's what they like. They like controversies. They like a little clown to come on stage and say, "Let's make America great again." Election was stolen, and people love it. People love it. It's simple and it appears to their tests that look, we are all losers and so. But look, even Trump, such successful businessman, even he lost because of the Democrats and because of all that or so on. But you know what's interesting is that he's doing very well when he's talking and appealing to mostly uneducated people, people who don't understand the difference between the evidence, between the lawsuits and what the pleadings are and so on. But you know what? When it comes to courts, where there's everything is scrutinized under microscope or so on, he's losing. He's losing civil cases. He's losing now. We'll see criminal cases, how well he'll do. And he is himself his worst enemy. And you will see that he will be just completely, should I say, annihilated by these processes. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, along those same lines and everything, I saw that Lee Newton Rhodes is in the background, and he was saying that Grant Cardone, who is definitely an influencer of many folks, and all along those lines, and many others are not necessarily Trump supporters, but they're not happy with the judgment. And even as Mr. Wonderful was saying, it is negatively affecting the New York real estate markets. I don't know if Nick's got any thoughts about this, because this is something that I've heard, is that the real estate market there in New York was in trouble, and there are folks that are thinking that this judgment will give that market more troubles because people will be seeing this as an attack, not necessarily on Trump, but an attack on real estate and everything in that space. So as a lawyer, I was just wondering your take on that, because I've heard a couple of people, like I said, Mr. Wonderful wasn't the only one, and Lee Newton Rhodes is right. There have been a number of folks that are involved in that space that are afraid that New York, which is a top real estate market, might not be as top as it used to be because of the ruling and the fear that folks can do better in other states, including your former home state of Florida and everything. But I just wanted your take on that, Nick.
Yeah, Mark, I worked with real estate developers for nearly 40 years, like 40 years of working with these people. One thing they have all in common is they overvalue their properties. I mean, it's not like it's it's a uniform thing with real estate. Number one, they overvalue their properties. Number two, they breed more litigation than any other sector in the legal profession. They're always in court. But if you think about it, there's always something to fight in litigation. In other words, from easements to land use to you name it, to trespassing, it just goes on and on. So, but now let's take a look at the Trump. I call it the Trump portfolio, because remember, this is one of 4,000 suits him and his companies have been involved with during his lifetime. 4,000 of them, which is not surprising, as much properties as he has. I think he has the fraud trial is going to get thrown out on appeal. I don't think it's a good. I read through the decision by Aragon the other day, and it was kind of, there's so many different holes to his decision that with a good appellate attorney, that thing's going back. On the other hand, on the defamation, he's got a serious problem unless he gets some really, really good attorneys to get the defamation one overturned, because of the trends toward allowing defamation suits to go through, such as, and we've seen this in the past. So he's got what I call winners and losers. In the meantime, of course, it puts a damper on his ability to maneuver financially. I believe he will post a bond. I believe that it will be overturned on appeal, and I believe he'll be the nominee. Now, will this continue after he goes into office? That's a good question. Or is he going to invoke qualified immunity? We'll see. I mean, the thing is, like I said, when Trump comes to town, the circus comes to town. But we are divided into the people that hate Trump no matter what. He gets up in the morning, we hate him. Okay, he goes to bed at night, we hate him. And then the people that love him, he goes to bed at night, we love him. Gets up in the morning, we love him. But all those people will not decide the election. The people who are going to decide the election are going to be the ones in the middle, the independents. And we're going to see it. I think it's also going to be a close election. It's not going to be something that's out of stretch. If he loses, he'll cry like a baby, like he did last time. If he wins, well, it's supposed to happen. So the circus has not left the town. But if you look at if you read the judgment, let's go through it. Number one, there was no jury trial. Now, why not? Everybody in the United States think you're entitled to jury. You're not entitled to a jury in all cases. And he points that out, number one. For example, there are certain courts you go into, like the U.S. tax court, you never get a jury. Okay, there's certain hearings, you don't get a jury. As they say on law, you're entitled to jury, but not equitable. But he claimed these to be equitable claims. But the Seventh Amendment could be a way to challenge it, just to start off with. Then the overvaluations of the properties with no victims. That is kind of weird in and of itself, because if the law was uniformly applied, and it will not be, almost every person who submitted a financial statement in the state of New York will be sued by the Justice Department of the state of New York. And that ain't going to happen, because they always say, well, my property, I've seen them, they come to my office, my property's worth $2 million. I look at Zillow, it's worth like $1.5 million, maybe, or $1.3 million. They do it all the time. I mean, it's just kind of like, and then he had the caveat in there. He goes, look, these are our representations. You're entitled to go get your own valuation experts, which they all do when they loan. So what's this case all about? At the end of the day, I'm afraid the Trumpsters are right. This is just a political case. Period.
Hey,
The
Nick,
end.
hey, Nick, along those same lines and everything, speaking of political cases, and Lee Newton Rhodes kind of mentioned it and everything, but apparently the gentleman that launched it has backed down and everything. But, Donald Trump does have some fans that aren't just in the high end sector, but apparently he has some fans that are in the blue collar lane. And apparently there was a gentleman named Chicago Ray that was trying to organize a truckers boycott and everything, but he's taking back his call to action for the truckers to boycott. But I can imagine that as a area that has got a lot of business that is over the interstate highways, that if a trucker boycott was to hit New York, just like it was to hit any major city, that would be problematic. But Mr. Ray, or that's his nickname, claims that he has no interest in leading any movement, but that he is remaining 100% behind Trump. So he's definitely a part of
I
that.
think that's the right thing to do because you're hurting innocent people. Have nothing to do with the claim. This thing needs to proceed along court lines. It needs to go to the appellate courts and have them do a review of the case. My review is I would reverse it. I just go, I just don't see it. And I really, really strongly object to the state of New York because I've had some cases I've tried to get the state to intervene and they won't intervene. Okay. The person was clearly guilty and the state ran. Okay. I really object to the state of New York being the party plaintiff. If there was a plaintiff, it needed to be one of the banks that got injured, one of the people that got injured, somebody that actually got injured, not the state of New York. And so the thing is, when you look at it from a business standpoint, it is definitely a political espionage. I mean, just no question about it. This is weaponization of the Justice Department, and I'm totally against it.
But speaking of weaponization, I'd love to hear from both of you and Sasha, and Lee wants to jump in because that's not the only one. I think there were some protests that recently, both for and against Palestine, when Durham here in this particular city decided to pass a resolution to support a ceasefire and everything. So sometimes people will do protest on public streets. I think in that particular case, they were protesting at City Hall and everything. But I'm just wondering, because even this gentleman, Mr. Ray and everything, or as he goes by that nickname, and all along those lines, was saying, Chicago Ray, that he knew that there were folks that were refusing loads that were going to that particular area of New York. So he's in Wisconsin and he's heard of guys that were refusing loads, and this could take longer than a week. So his advice to New York was start stocking up, because he's claiming there's millions of truckers for Trump. So he's saying that they will not be coming to New York anytime soon because they are feeling that he is being ridiculed and attacked.
That's wrong also. You're hurting people that have nothing to do with the dispute between Trump and the state of New York. So the truckers need to back off. They need to realize they can support Trump through, they can support the bad decision, the political decision by Erdogan, using verbal means. But, when you're living in New York, don't attack the people in New York that had nothing to do with it. See, that's going to create more problems, more angst against Trump than it will for them. So I think the truckers need to be very vocal and the reasons why they're against the fact there was no victims. There was that exculpatory clause that the judge chose to ignore. And on a summary judgment, you're supposed to take the light and most favorable to the non-moving party. He didn't do it. That alone is reversible on appeal, Mark. So wait till the appellate court gets it, reverses it, sends it back to the judge and said, look, you have to look, if you're going to do a summary judgment, you're going to have to look at the light most favorable to the non-moving party, my friend. So I think it was a bad decision. It was a political decision. And the thing is, all the anti-Trumpsters are going yay, and all the Trumpsters are going nay. But the judges, let the judicial system work its way out and move on from there. In the meantime, of course, it's going to cost him money. Money that the regular person could not afford. If he was a normal person, he would be out of office. I mean, it would be over. But he's not a normal person. He actually does have assets, and I think this actually politically will start working in his favor, not against him. This is another Democratic backfire. I think the Democrats have really screwed. If they lose, they can only blame themselves. Putting Joe Biden on the ticket, that's not a good one. Even Kamala Harris, I was listening to her the other day. She'd have been better on the ticket, leading the ticket, than Joe Biden. I mean, Mark, how many mistakes are they going to make before they wake up. But they have this vice grip over Washington, D.C. And so the thing is, they're not going to change, and the way to change is to kick them off. So, we'll listen to Steve. Maybe he has an opinion. Let's see if we can find him. He's our political analyst. He knows everything about politics out there.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how are you? About to fly out here.
Good. We were talking about the decision with Trump, and definitely there are folks, including Mr. Wonderful, that are thinking that it's going to hurt New York real estate. He was actually saying that your state of West Virginia is where people should be going to do real estate. He was naming that as one of the winner states and everything, but he's thinking that folks need to be heading to West Virginia.
Well, I think, I mean, West Virginia, first of all, when I grew up in Charleston, and when I grew up in Charleston, it was 85,000. Now it's under 40,000, completely dead, but land is cheap.
Land is cheap.
You look at the housing values there, you can have a pretty good lifestyle without having to make as much money. But what you really lack is, unless you're in Morgantown, which is only an hour from Pittsburgh. So I think these are things that we need to consider, and it's unfortunate, right, that this trial, I think, I don't know whether it'll hurt real estate. I mean, I think it hurts his family. I mean, his grandchildren, the Trump brand has been ruined, and I don't know, if his sons are, well, at least Donald Trump Jr. is not going to be any help, right? And so anyway, I mean, he'll appeal it. I think that there was something on CNN yesterday about Kamala Harris playing more of an active role, kind of a weird scene when I was working out, seeing, Biden and Joe Biden standing on the side and Kamala there at the pulpit. So, I mean, it's, what I was going to talk about today, just, we had a ceasefire resolution here in Durham City Council meeting, the war in Israel, Netanyahu not backing down, the war in Ukraine. Obviously, we've got Sasha Starr with us. And, I think that it's just going to be an interesting 6 or 7 months as we get ready to watch this thing unfold.
No doubt. So, I mean, definitely we want to get to that. I know Sasha's got his show in about less than 30 minutes and everything. But another topic that we talk about often, and I'd love to hear your thoughts around this, because is gun control. And I said I was going to bring it up yesterday, and there was the Minnesota shooting, and apparently 2 officers and a medic were killed, and apparently the numbers have been up this year. I forget the exact numbers, but I did see something on the news, and I'll try to bring it up in a future episode about the amount of officers that have been slain this particular year and everything in that way. So definitely, I was wondering folks' thoughts around this, because there's not just the common man that is being killed, but there are some of our folks that are in law enforcement that are being killed. And of course, they know they're going into a dangerous job. But apparently the shooter in this particular case wasn't allowed to have a gun. So they had lost their rights to own guns. And somehow, as we know, even if you're a criminal element, you can find a gun. So even though they had lost the right to own guns, they found the gun that was fatally used and all in that space. So definitely, I was just wondering your thoughts about this, because a lot of times we talk about wanting gun bans and restrictions on guns, but even if you have the restrictions, there are ways to get them through the underground market, and even sometimes there are places that you can go buy them out in the open and at auctions and places like that. But what are your thoughts around this? Because I'm sure the gun debate is also going to be coming back in the news.
You have to leave the United States. Sasha, are you beaming in from Aruba or something?
Yes,
I was wondering. I said that didn't look like a Canadian background, baby. That's Aruba. Okay.
It is, yes.
So yeah, very, very, very nice place. See, Sasha figured it out. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna try to call in my car. I've got to head to the airport.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, and I'll try to be on tonight.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, guys. Just a crazy year. Just lots of travel.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
all right, I'll be right back. But I'll
Yeah,
see you
sounds
later.
good.
If you have to travel, make it to Aruba.
Yeah, Aruba's really nice, except the thing is there's prevailing winds there. However, Sasha's figured it out. Okay, if you want to get rid of guns in the United States, get rid of the United States. Go outside. So he lives in Canada, which is, pretty nice during the summer times, and then goes to Aruba during the winter time. And then he doesn't have to listen to all this Second Amendment garbage. He doesn't have to listen to what was in the Wall Street Journal today. If you saw it, they had a whole article how you can take a Glock 9 and for $50 make it an automatic weapon by just inserting it in the back. I'm going like, why don't you tell the whole world that all your little pistols can now be automatic weapons, especially in the U.S. when we're gun crazy? And they also demonstrated that people have done that and shot police officers. The United States is completely out of control when it comes to guns, completely. So you're going to see it over and over again. Now, his choice, of course, is Canada River, which isn't bad. I am looking at Spain and Portugal. I go, why would anybody with means want to spend time here when this is a very dangerous place to live, and your standard of living is just as good elsewhere? I don't get it. Now, if you're stuck here because you can't afford to move, then you're going to have to deal with the Second Amendment loonies and all the garbage that exists here. But some of us, we don't have to put up with it. And notice Sasha beams in from Aruba, just as he does.
He's being in from Aruba, but I was actually going to get to something along those lines, because sometimes if you decide to be a dual citizen, you can get yourself in trouble as well. We know that happened with Brittany Griner and everything. So apparently there is a dual national citizen that has been arrested in Russia, in a area of Russia, and I'm not sure where it is, but I will try to pronounce it. It's called Yekaterinburg and everything. But there is a Los Angeles woman that was arrested on treason charges because apparently she is a dual citizen and she was accused of collecting funds for Ukraine. So while you're going to be in Russia and trying to collect funds and not think that Putin won't be looking for you is beyond me. But apparently she has been arrested and is being charged over suspected treason, as she is a dual citizen. So apparently she has dual citizenship between the United States and Russia. So she has now found herself in the same situation as what Brittany Griner was in that space. Okay. And like I said, where is Yekaterinburg, Sasha, and what is your thoughts around this Los Angeles woman that has been arrested on treason charges?
Yekaterinburg is about, say, 500 kilometers east of Moscow. Yep. And I can't believe how gullible people are still going to Russia to find some adventure or some, I don't know what they're trying to do so, because even in the better days when it was nothing situation like this, there are no laws, there is no dignity, there's lies all over the places. I can tell you one thing, it was back 2007 or 8, it's like 9 times by today's standards. I was stopped in the street in Moscow, and it was Friday night. So they ask every person must carry the passport. So I didn't want to carry the passport because to lose it, it's a hassle to renew it or so on. So I just made a photocopy and I carried it with me. So when I asked for a passport, I showed the photocopy. I said, no, that's not a passport, piece of paper. So you can throw it away. You don't have a passport with you, so we have to arrest you, and we will put you in prison until it's now Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Canadian embassy is closed, and then Monday you will be able to talk to them, and probably they will provide a lawyer. So you'll spend probably another few days in jail, and then we'll see what's happening. Okay, I understood very clearly what it's all about. So I asked what would be exactly. So I recognized that I was not tried by not carrying the real passport, the original. So obviously there has to be a punishment, but reasonable punishment. So what is, in your opinion, reasonable punishment? As I said, I think 1,000 rubles will do. Okay, it's not that much money. Okay, I said, wait. Another time I was flying.
Did they let you go when you gave them the 10,000 rubles?
10,000? No, I gave them 1,000. 1,000.
1,000 rubles, and they let you go, though, right?
Yeah. Okay. And another time I was stopped. It was a very interesting situation. I was leaving for Canada. So I was in the airport, Sheremetyevo, I believe. And so there is one line when you have to declare something, and another line when you don't have to declare it. So there is a green and there is red where you have to declare. Now, what means to declare? you can if you have $3,000 on you or less, then you don't have to declare anything. Just go straight ahead and good luck. Now, if you have 10,000, you have to fill up the declaration, the regions of money, and so on. Okay, I understand that. But I had $8,000. Now, $8,000, it's you can take $8,000, but you have to prepare a declaration and just submit declaration, and you can go straight ahead. So I went to Redline to declare that I have $8,000 in me. There's no a single person, nothing. Okay, so the flight, the time for boarding is coming. So I stayed there for about a couple of minutes or so, and no people. So I went straight ahead. I went through registration, everything. Now, when I was already at the point of boarding the plane, there was like maybe a couple of minutes left. They asked me, okay, can we see your documents? And so, okay, so how much money do you have on you? I say $8,000. Oh, $8,000. So you know that you had to fill out the declaration, and you failed. And I explained that there was no one to talk to, no forms, nothing. Say, so are you trying to say that our great people who are in charge of Airport Sheremetyevo didn't do their job properly? You say that they are treasonous, that they left their position. It's impossible. So we are going to lock you up for 4 days, and then we'll bring the charges. Said,
Wow.
okay.
So how'd you get out of that one?
Yeah. Well, that one cost me more than 1,000 rubles.
More than
Why?
1,000 rubles.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
what do you say? What would be a reasonable settlement in this case? In other words, you're basically paying a bribe, but
no, you have to see. You can't find these people. It's
I
impossible.
know you can't find it. I've got that. I've been to
It's
the
impossible.
U.S. courts enough. I know that a lot of places. You
So
gotta
all what
settle.
I said is that you know what, I think you are right, and I think that should be a reasonable settlement reflecting the fact that I
Right.
didn't fill the declaration. The reasons that I didn't fill are already explained, but maybe it's a weak explanation. Maybe they were there, but I kind of, you know,
You
maybe
wind
I
up
don't.
spending that money and
You know,
everything.
my eyesight is not that great, so I
Right.
just failed to see
Yeah.
it. So, however, okay, I
So-
would.
You
So
know,
I offered 2,000 rubles to settle
Okay.
this, and they
Right.
say 2,000. It's insult because now we already got a colonel involved, and these things for colonel will settle for 2,000 rubles. I said,
Yes.
okay, you tell me what's fair. I respect your colonel, and I'd like to make him happy. He says it's 4,000 dollars,
that would
not
be
rubles.
4,000.
Now we are talking about dollars, 4,000 US dollars.
I know.
Wow.
So I figured out that I tried to offer 2,500. It didn't go anywhere. So they knew that I had 8, so they just wanted half of what I had. That's
So they took
Well,
50%.
They took 50%, it sounds like, and everything. Hey, just really quickly, because I think we got Jacoby with us and everything in that space. And I know Jacoby is a big advocate for human rights of many people and all along those lines. And apparently, speaking of New York was in the news for another reason as well. I'd love to hear everybody, including your thoughts, Nick, and everything. But the Archdiocese of New York, and I mentioned this yesterday, denounced what they call the scandalous and sacrilegious behavior that over 1,000 funeral goers took part in as they mourned the death of transgender activist and actress Cecilia Gentilia at St. Patrick's Cathedral late last week. So there was a funeral, and due to the holy significance of the Lent season, the Catholic community was outraged following the service as the pastor of St. Patrick's Cathedral put in a statement on this past weekend. Thanks to so many who have let us know they share our outrage over the scandalous behavior at a funeral here at St. Patrick's Cathedral earlier this week. And that is what the very Reverend Enrique Salvo wrote. The cathedral only knew that the family and friends were requesting a funeral mass for a Catholic and had no idea our welcome and prayer would be degraded in such a sacrilegious and deceptive way. And apparently they were possibly mocking a real saint in this particular funeral and everything, because apparently there are some conversations around Saint Cecilia that were put in this particular service, because that particular saint is the patron saint of music and musicians, and recognized by both the Catholics, Orthodox, Anglican, and some Lutheran churches as well. And then in another similar kind of story that was going on down just south of us, a South Carolina man is facing murder charges in a trans woman's killing, and that is marking the first federal-based gender-based, and I'd actually seen one of the TV shows talking about a gender-based trial, but it's the first actual gender-based hate crime trial. So this will be the first time that a trial is going that is gender-based, and we'll see what this court does in South Carolina, and whether it continues to go all down the road and maybe even makes it to the Supreme Court and all in that space. But I just wanted your thoughts, because both of those are about the rights of those that are part of the LGBTQIA community and everything. I just wondered y'all's thoughts around that and everything.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't have enough facts on the first one. What did they actually do that the Catholic Church was upset about? Having a funeral for somebody that's transgender is not something that
videos showing the attendees eulogizing the woman and everything, but they were using a word that is very derogatory toward women that begins with W, and that's the way they were describing the real Saint Cecilia and everything along that line. So they did use a very profound kind of language and everything.
All right, so they got some pushback. Okay, the other case down in South Carolina, murder is murder. I mean, you can't say, hey, transgender murder or non-trans. It doesn't matter. If you murdered somebody, you murdered somebody, and so the thing is, that person's going to go to the big house forever, and that's just the way it is. So unfortunately, it does clog our court systems up. Wasting time with people that are spending too much time in hate. And I think, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if things are going to change in this country. But if you want to change your country, go ahead and do so. There's plenty of other countries. Sasha's in Aruba right now. It's probably really nice down in Aruba, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it's nice down in Aruba, but any thoughts around these two cases? Yeah. And along those same lines, because another thing that we've talked about on this show quite often is abortion and everything. And apparently the Alabama Supreme Court, speaking of the Supreme Court, has ruled that frozen embryos are children. So they're actually claiming that they are children, and I know that that's probably going to be like the Dobbs case. It will definitely make its way up to the Supreme Court, and depending on which way the ruling goes, that may definitely alienate a number of women and all along those lines. But I just wanted your take, because apparently they are saying that frozen embryos, you're doing that whole process of artificial insemination, are actually children. So that's what the Alabama Supreme Court has ruled and everything.
Yeah.
Frozen embryos are children.
In other words, if sperm and egg get together, it becomes a person. That's what they're saying, Jacoby.
Wait.
Frozen person.
So a frozen embryo is now
like
a child?
Babies, Jacoby, but there's
hold on, Nick. Hold on, Nick.
This is the inconsistency and hypocrisy.
So wait a second. So here's the question.
They want everybody alive.
Frozen embryos are children. Does that make the semen in balls in every man in Alabama a child as well?
No connection. Until they connect, there's no.
So wait a second. Until they connect. So wait a second. But they haven't connected if they're frozen embryos, correct?
No, according to them, they have.
So if they haven't connected, then why is a frozen embryo a child, but not the sperm a child?
Because it's separated. You have
so
to
they're separated. Wait. Now, let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's go down this rabbit hole here.
Okay.
Down this rabbit hole. Here you're saying that an embryo that hasn't done anything, is just frozen, is a child. But here you're saying sperm that is there isn't a child.
That's right. And eggs
because the sperm hasn't connected.
Not a child either. It
with the
makes sense.
embryo that hasn't connected, but the embryo that hasn't been connected is a child.
And egg by itself is not a child either. So
Yeah,
what am I-
so I don't understand the Alabama ruling. That's the problem.
well, it's what they're saying is when the egg is fertilized.
Nick,
by
we
the
just
sperm,
it doesn't make sense. You can say that. You just agreed with me that it doesn't make sense.
All right, let's try again, to Toby. When the egg and the sperm unite, that's when the
Okay. Have they united when they're frozen?
What? Yes, when they united, then they froze them. Believe it or not.
Oh, so they united and they're frozen. So are we saying? Hold on. Here's a question then. So frozen embryos are they've connected, right? They connected these frozen embryos. They froze them. They've connected. Every frozen embryo is a child.
Yeah.
So does that mean there are actually adoption centers?
When they come out, I guess the answer is yes.
No. It's either if it's a child, then it's an adoption center.
Yeah, they might
So
be in
does that
hospital
mean that
right
now that
and they're
adoption center can get tax benefits and all this other
they
stuff?
could be sitting in neonatal.
I mean, what I'm saying is that should not be.
Dispose of them.
A frozen
Yeah,
embryo is not a child.
Nick, along those same lines, but one of the things that, if I remember correctly, aren't frozen embryos and some other embryos used in a very controversial kind of medical research? Because if I remember correctly, stem cell uses frozen embryos. So wouldn't that be an issue as well? Because stem cell is a very controversial type of treatment and everything.
It is ridiculous that we are at this point that we're considering a frozen embryo a child as well. Because think about it, just a child, an actual embryo or zygote, and all the other scientific terminologies that we go to before it actually becomes a child. Those things, every pregnancy, every embryo, and everything that we're talking about does not actually become a child. Not every single one. It's not 100%. It's a fact, Nick. Don't even try and nod your head. You know that's a fact. Nick, counsel. You know we are in litigation right now.
I know you hate.
You know you're in litigation right now. Please provide me anywhere that it says every embryo and every egg that has been fertilized becomes a child. Show me anywhere that does that.
Yeah, well, I know you hate unborn.
No, Nick, don't change the subject.
I know you hate
anywhere. Counsel, I object to your questioning because you are going off topic. You are going way off topic to deal in something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No,
just really quickly, because we only got a few more minutes to go, and I did have another question for Nick, and it comes back to the whole gender conversation, and everything. But 2 Utah school districts, as I know your officers are in Utah and everything, are encouraging staff to conceal students' gender transition from the parents. So this has been a thing that was revealed by the National Review manuals distributed to teachers and staff by the Nebo and Albine school districts instruct teachers and staff not to notify parents or guardians after a student asks to be referred by a name or pronoun of the opposite sex outside of certain limited circumstances. So Nebo instructs staffs to heed the ACLU's guidance, which is very protective of a student's right to privacy in his or her sexuality, and adds that school employees should only notify parents if a situation exists, which is, and they put in some of the other ones that are there, and I haven't got that pulled up and everything, but they are a couple of situations that they may make exceptions, but for the most part, they're saying that that is their privacy rights and all along those lines. But I just wanted your take on that, since that is definitely in an area that you know quite well, that being Utah and everything. But they're saying that
I think the Utah needs to get a grip on this. They may have a lot of liability by making statements like that. Did they seek counsel before they said stuff like that, Mark? I mean, see, these are minor kids that are under the guardianship of the parents, and what they're saying is for them to basically lie to their parents, and we're going to protect you and shield you from that. And I think they're going to find themselves horrendously liable, the Utah school district, if they're making decisions like this. The parents have a right to know. They're their kids. So I would certainly caution Utah tremendously for proceeding down this rabbit hole. Because the thing is, we know that parents are being held currently liable for the action of their children. Look at the gun case that recently took place, you know, and the parents were held guilty. So now the thing is, what they're saying, if you're a transgender, then all of a sudden the parents have no rights. Baloney. Of course they do, you know, just like they do. And of course they have supervisionary jurisdiction over their children. So Utah is heading the wrong direction on this. Not surprising it's Utah.
I disagree on that. I think that
That's good. I'd hate you to agree with anything I say.
No, I disagree in the sense that we're forgetting that it is about privacy rights and
Privacy for a 12-year-old. Come on, Jacoby.
I mean, you're saying that if a child gets raped at 12, that they should have a baby. So it doesn't matter. They're an adult in your eyes.
I'm
So
saying
let's get back to it, counsel. You can't have it both ways.
Parents need to know about that rape, my friend. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, a parent should know about that rape, but that 12-year-old should not be forced to have that child. So you're talking about if that child becomes an adult, should that child be considered an adult? So you can't have it both ways in that sense as well. You're going to rabbit hole the same way. So in terms of the transgender, in
terms of the transgender,
in terms of the transgender issue, the transgender community has the highest suicide rate due to the fact that a lot of not being accepted, especially even by their parents, the place where they live. So a child having that an actual facility, schools usually turn out to be some of the safest the safest places for kids to be able to be themselves. And a lot of times, in a lot of occasions, parents end up blowing that up due to the fact that there are biases towards whom they like or whom they love. So a facility taking that extra step or having the ability to take that extra step and not really, hey, you know, this child is gay. Did you know your child is gay? Did you know your child is transgender? Being able to hold on to that. So therefore, it's not really the focal point because a school's supposed to be an establishment for education. So being able to focus on education rather than, hey, you know, let's talk about this child being transgender, that causes a problem. So being able to focus heavily just, hey, let's focus on the educational side of things and keep the other personals as private as a psychiatrist and being a counsel in a school.
Hey, Jacoby, just really quickly, I saw that Lee Newton Rhodes had put in now, maybe it's nothing to do with Ian or being accepted, maybe it's something else. So he is actually arguing that they are being more accepted nowadays than ever.
That is incorrect. That is an incorrect, falsified statement. And the fact that there are still laws that are actually banning transgender individuals. We just had the case that you were just talking about, South Carolina. We still are talking about there was a case where individuals that were homosexual got denied a wedding cake or a website by an individual who didn't really even have a website, so constitutionally bound, they were able to deny them. So therefore, talking about, oh, well, they're being accepted more now that, okay, sure, but there's still laws against them. People can be fired for being gay. People can be attacked for being transgender. So therefore, what he's saying really doesn't make sense. It is untrue.
Gotcha. Just really quickly, and I know we've only got another minute to go because we're getting ready to go over to the Sasha's show, Russia, Ukraine, and China. But I do have to tease Sasha and everything in those lines and all along those lines, because I did see that Mr. Putin gave Kim Jong-un a Russian-made limo. So I want to know, because you're a major dissident, is he sending you one of those limos as well and everything? Because since he's sending this limo, I figure he needs to send you one also and all in that space. So are you getting a limo from Mr. Putin? Because apparently he sent one to Kim Jong-un.
I think this limo is made by the same factory that builds the tanks and other ammunition and weapons. It's like a monster truck. It's something probably Elon Musk wants to copy and build this type of cars. They're completely useless. They take a lot of gasoline to move very slowly here and there, and I think it's completely useless. But it's better than nothing, I would guess.
I guess so. On that note, we're going to get on out of here. This has been a very lively discussion. We'll be back on it tomorrow with more discussion as well. But we're going to go and check out Russia, Ukraine, and China with Sasha and definitely his other guests. Hopefully, Mr. Ivan will be there coming from Kyiv, even though I know he was fighting some ailments and all along those lines. But right now, let's get on out of here. But another great show, and we'll be back on Wednesday.